tell me what to say.
Hallo Freunde, da sind wir wieder with an exciting new episode of Serious Nibbage. I am B.R.E, and that is
Gourmet Pens.
Gourmet
That's me.
And today we'll be talking about.
That's hilarious. It should be my new theme song. Everywhere I go, I should just sing that all the time. Okay. Yeah.
We'll be talking about a rather fancy pen, a very popular one, and that is nothing else than the Montblanc Meisterstück 149. Montblanc's Stück. Better.
Yeah.
The flagship pen of Montblanc. What?
No, you go first. It's your pen.
Falling asleep. My first impressions. I got this pen pre-owned, and I can't really recall. I don't think I got original packaging with it. If I would have, I'm sure it would have been excessive in Montblanc fashion with flaps and things.
Yeah.
And,
Pretty bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's what they would do. The Meisterstück range is the, I guess you could say, the complement of Pelikan Souverain range. That is their top range. This is Montblanc's top range. And I was quite surprised by the size of the pen. I knew it would be a big pen, and I think in this pen, it's not so much in the length, but it's in the girth.
Yeah, it's a very thick pen.
It's a very thick one.
It's like actually holding a cigar in a way.
Yes.
You're just kind of like, oh.
Very classically cigar shaped.
Yeah.
And that's something you really notice. But as I said, it's not really in the length. It's really the girth.
I think that makes it even look even bigger in a way. That it's not a very long pen. It's it's almost stocky.
I agree.
Yeah.
So that's my first impressions. What were yours?
For me, it looks even stockier and more, cigar-like, because when I hold it, it's very girthy. It is a large pen still, but it's not excessively long. It's not really long. It's not like, wow, this is a long pen, Oh, I shouldn't be allowed on the internet. I'm sorry. Okay, so
it's girthy.
It's girthy.
Beefy.
It's beefy. That's a really good word for it. That's what stood out for me.
Yes.
But it has a double broad nib.
It does have a double broad nib.
And so that really got me excited.
Because you like them broad.
I do like them broad.
And girthy.
And the nib is almost stubby. So
yeah, it is a bit.
It's very up my alley. That's the kind of thing I like. So
girthy things right up your alley.
And it's a large nib. So it is quite attractive.
That's 18 carat? Yes.
So overall, my first impressions of the pen are that, it is a big pen. It is girthy. So I did have doubts about whether it would be particularly comfortable for me to use. But, a double broad nib that looks stubby, I don't even care. I just want to ink it up and use it. So that's pretty cool.
All right. Well, as to what makes it special, I think it is the Montblanc flagship pen. And yes, there are the limited editions and writer's editions and all that, but as to the, not the Souverain, the Meisterstück range, this is the top one.
Yeah.
And that makes
it special. But that is special.
It is special.
Yeah, that is special.
Yeah, just like
so it is a classic flagship pen. So
I didn't really mean that. I'm not arrogant at all, don't worry.
I am going to, don't worry everyone, I'll just jam this into his ear.
No, but seriously, it's a flagship pen, and that makes it very special.
Yes.
And that's...
and some people love it, and some people hate it, just like this one. Ha ha! Zing, there you go. I got him back for you. Anyway.
What about your writing experience?
Writing experience. Okay, well,
I really didn't mean that, by the way. Honestly, I was just kidding. Get it. All right.
He's very modest, don't worry.
Yeah.
Also, he might be stoned on cold meds. So,
yeah, I've got a cold.
My first impressions, writing experience, first impressions with my writing experience, that's what I meant to say. Pre-owned, and so, maybe you should go first because you did have to do stuff to it.
That's correct. When I got it, it was relatively dirty, and it was sold to me as such, and I knew it would be. And the ink windows were very unclear, etc. Clouded, you could say. But the biggest issue was that the nib skipped a lot. So I sent it to Montblanc with intervention of Dennis van der Graaf of La Couronne du Con. He forwarded for me, which is nice because you can't send stuff to Montblanc as a private person. A pen reseller has to do that. And they
Which is
cleaned it
their
up.
way of making sure you buy it, full price from them.
Yes. Unfortunately, Montblancs are very difficult to disassemble yourself. It is possible. It's possible there's some, but you need to buy special wrenches and such at pen shows, or eBay, or etc. My biggest issue with the pen when writing was that it skipped a lot. Now, it's a double broad nib, quite prone to baby's bottoms, and this one definitely had baby's bottoms. So I actually had to work on it. I made it a little bit wetter, and I removed the baby's bottoms. And of course, you could argue, we'll come back to that later, you could argue that a pen at this price range, and Montblanc says we test every nib by hand before it leaves the factory, well then, I would say that someone in quality control was not paying much attention.
But of course, if they dip it and then write with it, there's going to be ink on the nib.
Yep.
So it's going to write.
It's
right?
Right, but it really skipped a lot. It really skipped a lot. So once that was taken care of, now I think it's a beautiful writer. Very wet, good flow, and no more skips.
Right.
But again, that's not just my merits, but I had to work on it until it did that.
Right. And at great risk, right? There's always a risk when
It's
you're
an
working on a
expensive
nib.
pen. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, so I've had the adjusted nib experience. So for me, it was very positive. It is double broad, and again, it is a bit of a stubby nib. So the lines are very crisp, very expressive. It is a very wet nib, which I like, especially broad nibs. If it runs dry, it's just horrid. So I am very pleased with that. Good job, by the way.
Thank you.
It was very well done. It doesn't hard start now. It doesn't skip mid-stroke. It does write, as soon as it hits the paper, and it doesn't dry out. So it is very pleasant now. I really enjoy it. It's very smooth. And so the nib itself is very enjoyable. For me, the issue becomes, it is a girthy pen, but you can see that the length is not that bad. This is perfectly usable for me. The issue for me is the section is very thick, and it has a very, very slight taper towards the nib. Very slight. There's no indent. There's really nothing for me to grip. So it's a very, thick gripping section. Oh my God, bless you.
Thank you.
So it's comfortable in terms of the balance and the weight and the length, but it's a big nib, so it puts a decent amount of space between my fingers and the paper, which gives me a little bit less control. And without an indent, I have even less control, especially with such a beefy section. So while the nib was very pleasant, for longer writing, I find I end up curling my fingertips around the section bit here, and then I get my fingers on the nib, and then I get ink all over my fingers. So that's not the pen's fault. I mean, it's a large pen and it's a large section. It's just that I have small hands, so that's just what it is.
It's interesting to hear that because I have never experienced anything like it. For me, it's perfectly fine to hold it like this, but you can see that even with relatively large hands, my fingers don't even completely touch holding it around the section. So it's definitely big.
But again, that's not the pen's fault,
No,
and it doesn't work for me, right?
That's,
So don't.
That's what happens when you buy a bigger pen.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain we will do a serious Nibbage on that pen too. But do you have a similar thing with the 146?
The 146 has a similar shape, but it's much thinner.
Yeah.
So it is a lot easier for me to handle. So
personally, for longer writing sessions, I find the 146 preferable to the 149. But that's a personal thing. Was there anything about it that you love?
Well, what about your writing experience?
Oh, my writing experience was great. Is there anything about it that you love? No, really. I mean, it's now again, now that I worked on it, it's fine. I have no issues with it. But as I said, it's big and it's thick, so yeah. And oddly enough, I don't really have that with the M1000, the Pelikan M1000. I don't have that issue with holding it.
No, because the Pelikan, the Souverain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not Souverain.
Yeah.
Those have an indented section that flares out towards the nib, so you can grip it a little closer and you get better control. At least I do. That's how I like to hold my pens. If you hold your pens higher up, you're not going to care about that. So So it makes the section a little thinner,
Yep.
since it's such a wide pen to begin with. Although not nearly as wide as this. Anyway, what do I
What do you love
love?
about it?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag because the nib has been worked on. But
Bit my hair. Go ahead.
oh, I can do that too. But the nib is quite pleasant now. A very pleasant double broad, bordering on double broad stub, although maybe crisper than a stub. But anyway, very nice and wet. I really enjoy the nib, and I also really enjoy that it is a very elegant looking pen, but it does have a ink window.
Yeah.
So you could probably show in the ink window, just in case someone hasn't seen it. It will probably show up. It is really nice to be able to see, you know, how much ink you've got in there. I mean, there are a lot of pens that look similar to this with black bodies and gold trim, but they don't have any ink windows. So I really enjoy that. I like to see how much ink I have. You know, I can't really just shake it like to see. You could use splatter ink everywhere. So
True.
I find that quite pleasant.
Anything you hate about it?
Well, I think it's a little disturbing that at the price of this pen, it was over polished and had issues, and you even sent it back to Montblanc for maintenance, and they didn't catch that.
Yep.
So I find, especially you paid them. I mean, it wasn't a free service, right? So.
And it's not the only Montblanc with which I've had issues with the nib. Someone sent me a Montblanc Solitaire 146, which is a solid sterling silver pen. It's a $1,200 pen, I think, with a fine nib. So fine nib should be less prone to baby's bottoms, but that thing was so dry that it hardly wrote. That actually had to be made wetter. And I love that pen now, just like I love this one now. But I would say that at such a price level, you could be expected to get a nib that always writes like sunshine out of the box.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you really love the pen, there's no reason you can't send it to a Meister.
Of course, and especially with a double broad, they could do some funky stuff.
They can do some really spectacular work with it.
Yeah.
So.
But
that is something to consider. If you wanted to work
factor into the cost
right away, yeah.
I love the size. It's I think it's a bit of a collector's staple because it is the flagship pen of Montblanc. It's such an iconic design, the white star and all that. I personally don't buy into the whole extreme prestige of this particular pen.
You might not, and a lot of you out there might not, but if you have one and someone who doesn't really know pen sees you with it, they're going to be impressed, right? So
it's something that happens, especially in corporations, I think, where you know if you have a Montblanc, you're the man. It's the thing, and that may
or the
woman, and that may or may not be entirely accurate, but that's how the brand has marketed itself.
You have to give them props for that, though, because that's some excellent marketing.
Things I hate about it, well, you covered the nib very well. I won't reiterate all of that. One thing I will say is that what I don't like so much is that it's very difficult to maintain these pens yourself. You don't have the proper tools. Of course, you can draw out water and expel it. It takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you use a stubborn ink or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a pity. Whereas for me, buying one of those wrenches on eBay to open up the piston unit, it costs some money, and I'm sure it's not for everyone. Some people would not want to fiddle around with such an expensive pen, but for me that made all the difference, because now I can use any ink I like and then just open it up, flush water through, and in 5 minutes I'm done cleaning it, as opposed to 15 minutes of drawing up water, expelling it, drawing it up, etc. Mm-hmm. Montblanc does clean pens for you, does do maintenance, but they charge you. I think there is something like a €30 flat rate for just looking at your pen, which you've already bought, right? So it's not a free service. You send them the pen that you bought from them, and then they charge you for just looking at it. So I'm sure that's a successful business model, but if you buy such an expensive pen, I think you might expect that at least if it's so hard to maintain yourself, that could be free. Just an idea. So having said that, with the wrench, for me, that was completely worth it. It was not that cheap because they have to be, made to size, but
if you love the pen,
yeah, definitely made a big difference. Would you buy it? What's the cost of this again,
I
Cantonese?
believe it is 935 US.
That's a lot of money.
So it is pretty substantially expensive.
Yeah.
And given your nib experience, I mean, even though the nib is really nice now, I find that it's too beefy of a pen for me. So, but the situation with the nib is really a turnoff, and it is difficult to maintain, as you mentioned. So that is also really difficult to, contend with, because I mean, what happens when you do need to maintain it? It is a piston, so at some point it's going to need maintenance. So, I would not buy it.
Nope.
Not at full retail anyway.
No, that's my reasoning too. These pens are really expensive, and that's my reason to. Every Montblanc I own, I've purchased secondhand or, sorry, pre-owned. It's very important, children. And except for that 146 Solitaire, which was sent to me as an extremely nice gift, but I would not buy these through retail. It's an extreme amount, and although I love the pen, I don't know if I love it so much to spend $900.
Although I'm really, really in love with the new rose gold ones.
Just saying. Anyway,
Just so you know.
the one big question that we have is it or is it not serious Nibbage?
Oh yeah, alright. Of course it's serious Nibbage. There's just, you can't get around it. It's serious Nibbage.
Even with the issues, this is a pen that you can't ignore. It's a flagship pen, and you can definitely say that if it doesn't write out of the box, that doesn't work. I mean,
That's totally
that
fine.
doesn't really, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But once you do get it to write, and I say again, I think it should write out of the box without any issues. But once you do get it to write, it's a fantastic pen.
It is
and it's not like it
pen.
doesn't write. It's just that it's over polished, etc. With my fine nib, it was too dry.
It's like they went too far, yeah.
Yes, but so I mean, don't think that it will not do anything. Just experience some skips. I've heard that from other people too. Having said that, I think it's definitely serious. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. If you have a 149, let us know what you think. Do you think it's wonderful? Do you think it's terrible? The professor crept out there. We want to know if it's. I do pretty well, I think.
You do the professor pretty
well. Let us know what you think. If you think it's serious Nibbage or not. If you are extremely angry.
Do you like yours, or were you disappointed?
Exactly.
I'm glad that we have one. I mean,
yeah, I like
do
it.
enjoy it,
yeah,
but
I like it,
it would be really painful to buy one full price.
And then find out that it skips every second word.
But again, I still want one of those rose gold ones. So every time I see them, I'm like,
Yes.
But anyway.
Also, let us know if there are specific pens you would like us to cover in future episodes of Serious Nibbage. We'll try to accommodate that.
Type it out. Leave a comment down below.
Comment. And
if you like us, click the like button.
Yeah.
And if you're a troll and don't like us, please don't do anything.
Just go away.
Please go. I mean, if you're a troll and don't like us, why are you even watching this? This makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, that's all.
Discuss it with your therapist. In any case, we hope this was useful.
Yeah, and we will see you later.
Probably.
Oh, I was trying to point at the camera, but my aim was off.
The camera's right there.
Oh, right. So yeah, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. You're scary.
No, I'm not. I listen.
That was a scary bye. Oh! You want to say bye too? She wants to say bye.
It's the animal trying to say bye.
Look at this. Oh, yes.
No animals were harmed in creating this video.
But pens might have been. Oh, yes, I'm holding the pen. Look at this. Look, she's holding it. Yes, the pen.
It's a cat. She can't actually hold a pen.
I'm holding her paws holding the pen.
On that cheery note, we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Wait.
Bye.
Bye.